Hi, everybody. Welcome to Agencyphonics. We are live. I'm not too sure what is happening here right now. Is everybody else with us? Pete is with us as well, and Sean.
I'm here.
Yeah,
Pete, not Peter's here. Hey, it's working.
Hey, everyone's here. This is good. Okay. This is always going to be fun, trying to figure out how to remotely host Agencyphonics from a not so sunny Hampshire village, which no one's ever heard of. Pete, you're also in another village no one's ever heard of, somewhere else in Hampshire. And Sean, where are you?
I'm in Camden Town.
Ah, you're in Camden Town. Ah, right, nice. So this is really good for us because not only can we now speak to you remotely during COVID rather than from our studio, it means that we can actually start to do these vodcasts more internationally. So I'm quite excited, really. I can see you now, and you have a wonderful garden behind you. I look like I'm in the hospital club, some kind of boutique members club.
Very nice flock wallpaper there.
Yeah, thank you very much. My wife chose it, not me, obviously.
Yeah.
So listen, welcome everybody. As you can see, we've had to adapt from our fantastic studio that we have normally. We're missing our neon sign. Pete, we should have stolen that, really, shouldn't we?
We should have done.
We could have put it on your wall behind.
Yeah, it's a bit boring behind me. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it is a bit boring, actually. We need to make that a little bit more interesting. Sorry?
I said I want Sean's background. Look at that. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I know. If I move that way, I've kind of got a garden too. But so here we are. I want to say thank you, first of all, to Simon Green at Wirehive, because this couldn't have happened today if he hadn't have donated his spare time from home during lockdown to try and figure out how we were going to carry out these episodes and continue them. Otherwise, we were going to have a 2-month pause, and he's done a wonderful job. So we're now streaming from Live Nation live onto YouTube. So really pleased with that. So, right, well, let's crack on. Today's guest is Sean Singleton from Unofficial Partner. And Sean and I go back quite a long way. I don't know do you remember the first time we met or spoke? You do?
I heard about you before I met you, and your name kept coming up. In fact, the first time I heard about you is the business partner, Richard Gillis, who I work with now, and he said to me, "I've met someone like you, but better." He's called Spencer Gallagher, and he runs this great agency.
I don't believe that.
And it's true. And then I thought, who is this guy? And then I remember, do you remember Scott at the Marketing Association? The big guy used to run the Marketing Association, and he mentioned you as well. Anyway, Scott Knox, that's it. Scott Knox mentioned you, and I thought, who is this guy? Spencer Gallagher. And he was like, for a year, you're like my nemesis. And then I met you, and thought, actually, you're really nice. And so I'd heard about you. So, but we had similar careers, and we started agencies at the same time.
I thought we met each other before or spoken before, because I remember when you had Skype. I'm sure at one stage I'd rung you up and we did some kind of handover on a project, and everyone was going, "What a nice bunch of guys you were," and I had quite fond memories.
It was NFL.
Actually, it was NFL, and I think we fucked it up actually. We thought you were giving us an iframe link. Do you remember that? It turned out it was actually a full API with about a week to go. But anyway, so I knew about you guys from way back when, and I was always massive fans of you. So it's quite funny that we end up being fans of each other and then finally met each other.
Yeah. But I think we did meet sort of 15 years ago, but I probably heard about you 18 years ago. So yeah, it's funny how life turns out. So
do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey and how you started? Because it'd be really great to hear, obviously, all about Unofficial Partner, what you're doing today and your approach, which I'm a massive fan of. I think the way you've started Unofficial Partner with Richard is just such a clever move, and I just love the way that you haven't taken any traditional models in your approach, and I love that. But I'd love to know a little bit about, to share with everyone, how did that journey, go? I mean, tell us about how Skyve started and where that journey went.
Yeah, so I originally started in magazine publishing. So there was a magazine called Shoot, which was a really big weekly football magazine for young boys, and I was publisher of Shoot, World Soccer, Golf Monthly, Rugby World, and loads of other sports magazines. And 20 years ago, the internet came along and took our lunch, because we were a weekly magazine, and we published the results on a Tuesday for matches on a Saturday. So people see the goals within minutes of them happening, or when the match is finished. They're not going to wait 4 days for the results. So I left magazines. I joined a startup for about 18 months. That ran out of money at the kind of peak of the .com crash. I think it was January 2001. We started Skyve, and really the idea, there was 4 of us. We had no clients, a little bit of money, but we really wanted to create branded content online. We didn't call it digital in those days. We called it web or online, but it was about creating online branded content, particularly viral games. Do you remember them? So that's how we started.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Started doing a lot of branded games for other agencies, and we did quite well for about 3 or 4 years. And then we got frustrated just being a production company, and we moved to become much more of an agency, and we got strategists and everything like that. And then we won Kit Kat and Carlsberg, and I did a massive campaign for the for the British Army, which I think is still the most awarded government campaign in history. So yeah, it was a crazy time. It was a crazy time, and we had a very strong culture, and it was just good fun.
How did you come up with the name?
I'm sure there's. Well, the name was when we worked this. When we were at the startup, I was in charge of the sports channel, and Louis Clement, who you must know from Podge, was the creative director, and he worked for the comedy channel, and it was called Skyve, and we liked it so much we sort of borrowed the name. We just thought it was a great name.
If anyone from the comedy, under official license.
Well, we kind of do. We did a deal with them that the people from the startup, we took the name and some of the games that we created in the previous venture in exchange for some shareholding in the company. So we didn't steal it. We bought it really. So we developed over the years. So long story short, after about 8 years, we had 8 really strong, good years, and then I think maybe after about 9 years, we bought an agency called Soup, and that was a good agency that was sort of down on its luck, and it was a pre-pack, so we had to do it quite quickly, and it was a bad decision, because they were about 30 people, we were about 35, 40, so it was, we basically tried to double the size of the business very quickly, and we doubled the size of our problems. We doubled the size of our salaries, which Pete would have had a heart attack if he was working with us then. And then very quickly the clients just disappeared. So, we probably did everything wrong. I mean, we were talking yesterday that it's probably better to buy smaller agencies. So if we were 30 or 40, we should have bought a 5 to 10 person company, and it would have been better financially, culturally, to absorb it and take your time doing it, rather than something of the same size.
And also,
and a lot of
as well.
Sorry, Pete, can you say that again?
And also, was it your first acquisition as well? So
yes, it was.
A big,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we bit off more than we could chew, and we had 3 offices. We had one office in Norfolk, 2 in London. We didn't kind of merge. We did everything too slowly, and and it was kind of really the beginning and the end. And after about 10, 11 years, I think I was on my bicycle and I had an accident, and I sort of, on another day, if a bus had been behind me or a lorry, I would have died. So I smashed my head open, but I was all right. I came out of hospital, and then a few days off, I went back into the office. And at that stage, we had a CEO, so I was still MD. I was MD, and I went back in the office, and I just thought, I can't do this, and I just quit on the spot. So after 11 years, I just had enough. Wow. And my wife said I was like a different person immediately. And I'm sure that people who are listening who run agencies, and this is an incredible, probably the hardest time ever for any business, particularly agencies. But over 11 years, I hadn't realised a dark cloud had been gathering over my head. And the moment I quit, I'm not saying everyone should quit, and that's not the right thing to do. But for me, it was the right thing to do at that time. But that black cloud disappeared. And after that, I then consulted for a few years. So I consulted for the Wall Street Journal, the Telegraph, more digital consultancy, and doing a lot of new business stuff, the sort of stuff that you do for lots of smaller media companies. And then I liked that for the first year, made quite good money, but I got quite lonely. The second year, made a bit less money, but still did quite well. And I don't know, I got a bit bored and lonely. And then I was headhunted to run an agency called, it was called Agencynomics, but we changed the name to Your Favourite Story, which is about a 60-person agency in Shoreditch, working for Mercedes. So I ran that for 5 years. And then after 5 years, I wasn't doing any sport. And, I'm getting older, the staff are getting younger, and I just felt I had to do something different. So I quit. And then I've known Richard Gillis for 25 years, and we started Unofficial Partner almost a year ago this week.
Yeah. And because we met about 18 months ago, didn't we? We had a catch up, I think, just before you started this, or you were just starting this then, I think.
Well, no, actually, it was
very
interesting
because
we
had a very nice lunch at the Ivy, didn't we?
Yeah, and you paid for it as well, and you gave me some good advice. Funny enough, actually, you gave me some advice. Yeah, you did. Yeah,
first time, man.
But
you're not supposed to say it when Pink's on the call.
Yeah,
doesn't buy my luck.
You, I reached out. You were great, because I reached out to you, and I felt like I'd quit the agency, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I asked you for some advice. You said, let's go for lunch. And you said, start your own company. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So, but funny enough, about a month later, I was having a pint with Richard, and he just had this idea, like, in the sports business publishing space, it's quite tired. It's very traditional. And he said, I think there's room for a very niche player in this who doing things differently. So, and we started, and I love business, I love sport, and I love podcasts, and so we put all the things together. So I did actually take your advice in the end. So thanks for that.
Although actually, I did say to you something different, didn't I? I remember saying that you've heard so much about agencies over the past, whatever it was, like almost 20 years, that actually, really, you could probably help brands and organizations actually help them structure their in-house agencies, because they don't really know what they're doing when they do take them in-house. But obviously you did think that was a good idea.
No, I did, but I didn't think it was right for me. So it's a brilliant idea, but it's about what's right for you. I think, I don't know, could you go and work could you work in a big corporate environment yourself when you've been an entrepreneur for 20 years? You are what you are. I think entrepreneurs are like
I'm unemployable.
Yeah, well, I think they're like wild animals that can't be domesticated in the corporate environment. So I think it's I like being in charge of my own destiny and doing what we're doing, and it's I kind of think I'm enjoying work a lot more than I have for many years doing this. So so that's my journey.
Yeah, before we go on to Unofficial Partner, I think you've clearly been through agency life. You've got a lot of experience there. You've been there and done it at all stages. And as you rightly said a minute ago, you sort of went in, you helped with new business with Your Favourite Story, and as well. And so right now, obviously, we're quite lucky. Peter actually just got 2 emails in this morning from a client who just won pieces of work. So we're really we actually had about 20 pieces of new business across our clients in the past about 10 days now, which is really great. And weirdly, I think this whole situation has actually forced a lot of agency people to start, because they're panicking a little bit, to focus on sales. And hopefully very quickly they're finding some opportunities. I guess what I was really wanted to pick your brains on is what did you, over the last 20 years, what are the things that you've learned about agency new business? I mean, taking away the kind of getting the proposition right and that side of it, but in just terms of how did you get the leads for some of your biggest deals that you worked with? Have you got any kind of pearls of wisdom if an agency owner said to you, what should I do for new business, especially in a downturn? Because I'd imagine on your journey, you went through a couple of downturns, didn't you? A couple of stock market crashes probably in there, a dot-com crash. We had maybe the 2008 crash. I don't know where you were at that stage. So, but what advice would you give to people?
I think at the moment, it's an extraordinary time. And I think, by the way, what you two guys are doing the last few weeks is amazing. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed the stuff you've been doing.
We're both about to have breakdowns.
Yeah, I know, but you've got that whole thing about in crisis, there's always an opportunity. So they say in that Chinese saying. But so I think it's very hard to run agencies at the moment. I think for me, it's about playing the short and long term game. I think now short term, first of all, you don't want to come across as desperate. So that's no one wants to sell or to buy off someone who's desperate. But I think we had a term at Sky where if we had a bit of a quiet time, we'd just go, right, we need to shake the tree. And we'd shake the tree. So everyone would say, right, okay, who have we spoken to? Who have we worked with in the last 2 years with good relationships? And then just get the dialogue going. So I definitely think about shaking the tree. And it's interesting you say about your clients are winning business. Because I saw on Twitter an agency owner saying, we just pitched on Zoom and we've won. So I heard a big pitch thing, one on Zoom. Maybe it was one of your agencies, but I thought that was fantastic. Yeah, and I do think about with this.
Who was it?
I do think with this.
Oh, sorry, I might be a little bit behind. There might be a lag, so I might keep quiet in a minute. But I was saying I saw it as well. It wasn't anyone we know, but one of our agencies pitched a fairly big opportunity over Zoom this week as well. So it's going to be, obviously, that's how it's going to be, isn't it, for the next few weeks, months? So we will get used to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think because it's, with the dot-com crash and the financial crash, it affected some people, not everyone. This affects everyone. So it does feel like there's some kind of roll it together. And I think what you're doing, with the stuff with agency owners is trying to create some community spirit. With Unofficial partner, we're trying to do that, in our area. So I think the short term of it is to shake the tree and really just, reconnect with people you should do. But also, I think it's playing the long game. I mean, there might be, for example, marketing people that have lost their jobs, and they, right now they can't give you work because they've got a job. But this is the time to get to really help them, right, when they're on their way down, and they might remember that and just have a Zoom chat with them. And that's what I always try and do, is play the long game, because really new business is not a tap you can turn on and off. It's about relationships, and people work with people they trust and people they like, and people who are experts. So I think it's new business is a technique. I think it's a mindset.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because in the when I first started Blue Halo, I got a phone call from it was 99, and if you remember, there was a recession in that time. The local businesses had crashed, where he lost his job, and he asked me to come and help him fix his email because he couldn't apply for jobs. So I helped his unemployed, effectively, marketing director. And then about 3 months later, when I was going to close down my business, because I had sold stuff in the first 3 months, but I hadn't really sold enough to keep it going. I literally walked in and the phone rang, and he said, 2.5 months ago, you helped me fix my email, and today I've just got a job because because you helped me send the CV in that day.
Yeah.
And his like, whatever it was, a £5,000 website. And so I love that advice.
Brilliant.
I think, you're right. One of the best ways agencies win business is from their clients leaving and taking them to a new place. So if people are losing their jobs, just keep in contact and try and help them. And, they'll take you with them to the next job they get, which will be probably in a faster growth area, because the people recruiting right now are the ones that are going to be growing, right? So.
Yeah, and I think so I always try and keep in touch with people. We try and keep in touch, even though there's no immediate benefit. When so many people who just get in touch when they want something, and it's so obvious. So don't be that person. Is one thing I'd say. I remember once at Sky where we had a tricky period, and a friend of mine, he was a good friend, but also he was a client, and he worked at the Independent. And I just said to him, "Can I take you for a pint?" I took for a pint. I said, "I need 10 grand. I need 10 grand. And can you give me some work?" And he said, "I'll give you 10 grand, but you've got to do 20 grand's worth of work over the next 6 months." So there's other things there. You might be able to package stuff now. If you need the cash now without being desperate, you might be able to say, "Do you know what? Because we've got spare capacity over the next few months, we can do things a bit cheaper." And make sure it's a one-off, and or you do a volume deal to say, "Well, actually, give us 50 grand's worth of work, but we do 10 now, and we'll do the rest at a discount." So that's what sort of tactics I would do. But generally, I try and play the long game. I think it's about building relationships with people, and there's no point running around. I was talking to a potential client yesterday, and she said, "Look, we've paused our budgets for 3 months, but let's keep talking." And I'm going to keep talking to her, and I'll help her out. And there's other things I can do without, giving away anything too valuable. And then, in 3 months' time, 8 times out of 10, those sort of people do actually deliver. You always get some takers who are clients, but I think just look for the best in people and build relationships. That's the way I've always tried to work, anyway.
Yeah, in life, people. You always hear about people saying, "Oh, I've recruited this non-exec because of his little black book." And I wrote an article internally recently to people sort of quite clients, etc. And I know at Smithson's you can get a little black book. It says little black book on it.
Yeah.
And I said to everyone, just start writing down who are your top 50 contacts. Who are the people, if you had to choose 50 people that over the years, are nice people, you get on well with them, maybe they're quite well connected in business as well, and draw that list up and create your own one. And people may drop off it and other people might come on it, but actually over time, I love that term, by the way, shaking the tree. I'm going to steal that from you because I think that's great. And I think going back to people that are close to you on a regular basis and keeping in touch, you're right, not expecting things and not being desperate. So there's some really good gems there.
Yeah.
So that's really good. It's funny because we did have a quick chat yesterday and catch up, and we actually spoke about, and you just mentioned it, some sectors are gonna grow through this period, and some are going to decline. And normally when there's a downturn, there is almost a new beginning. We've all suddenly become remote workers, and there'll probably be, I don't know, for example, there may well be a greater demand for applications that enable businesses to work, in the cloud more remotely, outside of the kind of the common Microsoft Teams and the other work platforms. But you're in sport. Where do you see the growth in sport? Is it esports? Is that kind of a growth area that you think now will be accelerated? Because I've seen all the footballers and the Formula One. Pete was watching the Formula One the other day. What do you think about that? Will that be a growth area for you?
Esports is definitely a growth area. I mean, obviously, there's not the live shows anymore. I mean, we're in a way, sports has stopped, so therefore that has been, it's kind of been a killer for the industry. But live sport will start in the next 2 or 3 months. Well, probably 2 to 3 months time. I think it's where it's been a killer is people that organise sports events, conferences, awards, which we don't do that. So in a way, for us, this could be, it could be as terrible as it is on every other way. I've been ill for 3 weeks myself. I don't know where I've got it or not, but it's been terrible. But for us, it actually might be a positive. Our numbers have doubled, and people can't go to conferences and they can't go to awards, and maybe they won't go to them as much as they used to because, whereas I was going to come to Hampshire and do this, but this is still working quite well. And it's, so, and as you said, I'm having 1 or 2 Zoom calls a day, but now I'm talking to people in America. I've got one in this afternoon and one tomorrow and one on Tuesday, which I don't think that wasn't happening 3 weeks ago. So right. You're right. There's always opportunity there.
That is interesting. Because one of our clients that won the deal today won it from America. So maybe the world will get smaller now. We're all working remotely.
Yeah, and I think with the video conferencing, it's if it's just a better way to communicate than just a telephone call, especially if you don't know them. I think it's quite seeing people in their own home. I don't know. It allows a better human connection, I think. And the other thing I was saying yesterday is that.
You actually in Camden? It's a bit too green. You can't be in Camden.
I'm only showing this because my front room is quite scruffy. So yeah, that's my garden. We live in 2 flats connected, so it's two gardens connected.
Hertfordshire.
No, it's
you're really in the countryside, aren't you? Oh, I just saw buildings.
Not. Yeah. Do you know what the funny thing is? It's so quiet.
Can I just ask? Is that a swimming pool behind you?
It looks like a swimming pool. I wish. No,
it looks like it needs water in decking. It. Oh, it's decking. You could fill that with water, couldn't you?
I know, I could do. So no, what I was saying was, I think
tell me about Unofficial. So tell me about the new business. Tell me how it started. I know you mentioned about you and Richard got together, but you've got this podcast. So tell us all about that.
So how it started was we just felt he has been a well-respected sports business journalist. So he writes for the Irish Times, Wall Street Journal, mainly about the business sport, written loads of books. But he was actually working for Cake for Havas. And we were having a pint two Christmas ago. We both saying we were kind of getting sick of Agency Live. But he said he felt that there was a gap in the market for the sports business world, and he said, basically we're going to start. He wanted to start a B2B content marketing agency, and I said, look, we're 2 old blokes. There's loads of people doing that. Why don't we walk the talk? Let's create our own bit of content that gives us credibility that we can use as a Trojan horse, and so we started the podcast, and I've been on, as you know, I'm a Spurs fan. I'm on the Spurs Show podcast since it started for 15 years.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So I've listened to podcasts every day. Yeah, I know, says the Chelsea fan. So we listen to podcasts every day, and I've been on podcasts, but I just taught myself how to produce a podcast and promote it and everything else, edit it. And then, so we started it. I've just put out the 57th episode this morning, and it's really taken off. We're getting thousands of downloads. We had the head of sport globally for Facebook quite early on just contacted me on LinkedIn and just said, I'm in London tomorrow, here's my mobile, can you give me a call? And I rang him up and he said, can I come on? So we know B2B is all about the quality. Yeah, it's the quality of the audience. So we're getting a senior people, but we're now getting pretty big numbers. And so we played the long game, rather than just try and sell our services. We focused on creating a Trojan horse in the podcast. And in a way, people keep saying to us, the Trojan horse could be the horse. So we're about to start offering advertising spots on the podcast. So, and we've got a few clients. We've got a one retainer. Obviously, we want more. the current crisis has stopped all of our commercial conversation. Well, I would say it stopped about 80% of the commercial conversation we were having. There's still some ongoing. So it's been good fun. And then we get to meet amazing people. We get to meet, we're due to see Barry Hearn last week, but obviously we had to do it over the phone. So you're meeting someone like that that's been in, business at the top of his game for like 40 years. And it's, so you meet these people, and it kind of feels like, and also we had a discussion yesterday about being niche. And I was thinking about what you said about, you don't want to be too niche, and if you're, if you're
in travel
a digital
right
agency
now, maybe
in travel, but travel will come back. We're not going to stop traveling.
Of course it will.
I think the thing about niche is, I think that if you're niche, it allows you to be an expert, and at the end of the day, clients want experts. So I think it's about being an expert in your field. So that, but what
definitely
the other thing we did, we didn't call ourselves an agency. We called ourselves a publishing and sort of content marketing company, because it's a bit like the word sales director doesn't exist, and then there's new business director. It's becoming less because people don't want to talk to the salesperson, and I just felt that even the word agency is becoming like clients are a little bit, not another agency kind of hassling me. So the publisher fund gives us sort of fame and credibility that allows me to go to places that I couldn't go before. So, my LinkedIn a year ago was 2,000 connections. Now it's nearly 9,000. So, just in a year. And that's because if I say to people, I'm the publisher of a sports business podcast, you should check it out. I'd love to connect. 8 out of 10 say yes. And then you start a relationship. And then the other thing we do on our website is what we try and build is we say, well, we can give you a bigger profile as individuals or as companies, and we have a really good network. We have a monthly drink up as well. And so once I connect with someone, I say, if they're a brilliant person, we could say, let's have a chat about if maybe we'll get you on the podcast, or a senior person, or we profile people on our website as well. So that's another way where you're offering value. So can I promote you and help build your profile? So then you're starting to create a relationship. And then I say to people, right, this is how I can help you. How can you help me? So this is what I'm after. I'm after commercial relationships, and I'm after guests that can drive our numbers. They're the only two metrics I care about, is people that can make us money and people that can make us more famous. But I know this is what I can do for you. How can you help me to, and generally people are quite open about that. So that's been our approach. It's been good fun.
What I like about, first of all, we can tell, sports is your passion. In fact, weirdly, I don't actually think sports necessarily is a niche, because actually, I've got friends who've got agencies, who work with golf clubs. For me, that's a niche, a niche within a niche almost. But I think sports gives you the flexibility, and, there's people who supply sports, there's different sports, esports. And so I think you've got a good enough variety in there.
Yeah.
Like,
and
try and find the businesses around the business.
Yeah, you're right. And
health
people
and
do say that, just they like the variety. Yeah. So we actually do health and well-being. So we try and step outside the traditional, football, golf, and rugby, and all of that stuff. So it gives, and I think sports quite good, because they do like to learn from, football does want to learn from other sports, and there's lots of kind of sports tech, sports lawyers, lots of sports agencies. So there's lots of different ways you can cut and dice the sector. And we just, what we focus on is the people. So all the other competitors talk about Coca-Cola have signed a new deal with FIFA, or this, it's about money or contracts. And, one particular company sends 5 emails a day with news, and we just focus on people, because we're always, we interview someone.
I really like that. I think that you know, about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, I read this article and it said, you know, if you don't have a personal brand in 2 years, no one will do business with you. And I realized at that stage that there was this kind of surgence when you looked at the Gary Vaynerchuks and you looked at the Stephen Bartlett from Social Chain, and I, you know, often reference Daniel Gilbert at Brain Labs. So sort of, and I guess it probably still comes back from the Morris and Charles Saatchi, and also from, you know, the Chai Day, or from JWT. Originally, there was a personality behind all of those amazing agencies. And actually, at some point, that personality, who had an opinion, who had a point of view, who had a network, got infectious, and the company then, you know, also became personalities, and then the business became bigger than the individual. And I think we're seeing a resurgence of that. I think it's very hard for most agencies, their brand, to get cut through, but it's a lot easier for an expert. Daniel Priestley's book, Key Person of Influence, I think is a really fantastic you know, example of the importance. I think it's almost come into its own in the last 2 years, where you know, I think it is about the people. And I think if in a service business, especially, you know, because we build trust with people, right? And there is this kind of, you know, reciprocity, you know, chemistry and creds, you know, the chemistry is really important. And so I think I've been sort of, you know, I've been shaking our clients a lot in the last couple of 18 months now, saying, look, it's, you know, you've got to sort your need to become a good leader. You've got to have a point of view, because the last 5 to 10 years, I think everyone stopped having a point of view because they're scared of saying things out loud without getting shot down. And I think, you know, you have to. So I think what you've done is really clever. And I think why I think it's clever is you've sort of taken that side of it, and then you've sort of said, well, yeah, everyone's called an agency, so let's take a slightly different area. We know you're, you know, through the two of you, you know, you've got fantastic thought leadership and, you know, and expertise, and actually, you know, you're publishing great content, and so therefore, actually, why not call yourself a publisher? And then it differentiates you even more. So I think it's a really unique and clever, and I think actually, I think the next 10 years will be very interesting to see how many other agencies take that approach.
I think you make a good point about, you know, about personal branding. And we said this yesterday, the thing about social media, it actually allows the little guy to punch above his weight. And I think you obviously got to have good content, but you've also got to be prolific. You know, I've even written values for, even though we're a two-man company, I've written values, and one of them is be prolific. So like whatever happens, we put a podcast out every week. At the moment, we're doing 4 because we can't meet people. We've got a bit more time, and there's a lot to talk about. You know, next week we might do. When it goes back to normal, we're thinking about just doing 3 a week, because, you know, we just know there is a demand. So I think being prolific,
so I think
is key.
I think that's genius as well. That's genius, because if you look at, so one of the biggest successes in the last few weeks that I've seen is an agency in Scotland called Made Brave, a guy called Andrew Dobby, and he's been posting 4 posts a day on LinkedIn, you know, getting up to 100,000 views per post. The frequency's there. His content is across 12 social media platforms. He's won 3 major pieces of work in the last couple of weeks, or certainly had 3 major inbound leads in, you know, wanting to work with him because of that. And so I think that, you know, in the old days, a lot of agencies are a bit precious, and it's all about the quality of the output for their content. But for me, what you just said, you didn't say quality. I say quality and quantity. You say prolific. I think you're right. I think when we do these shows live, it means that we don't have to have a series 1 and a series 2 like everybody else. We can just go live, create content. And Pete, how do you feel about going daily with the show?
Yeah, totally up for that now. Or we could have like a regular slot. It could be like the 9 o'clock news, couldn't it? You know, once a day.
Yeah.
So it could be like the 9 o'clock news.
We could do like a show every evening at 6 o'clock, a daily roundup.
Yeah. What's happened today? Well, I had another video call, then I had another video call, and another one.
and I did another range of furloughs, another range of finance.
Yeah.
Also, I think the thing is, if you do something on a regular basis, you get better, don't you? We all improve through repetition. And I was saying to you yesterday that your first podcast interview, given you'd never done it before, to your most recent ones, there's going to be a quality difference because you'll just get familiar, you know what to do, and
I hope.
And that's why I think the thing is, so if you do something, if you're going to say, right, I'm going to do a blog every week, in a year's time, you will get a lot better. The same with video. So I think you just have to. And the other thing as well is that point about committing. I mean, I didn't know until you told me that most podcasts give up after 6 months. But we said, look, we're just going to commit. We'd just do a year's worth, right, and see what happens. And now we love it. And so we're going to, we're actually upping our production because there's more and more people want to come on. There's more and more stories to be told, and therefore, we can start to monetize it, and the numbers go up as well. And the other interesting thing as well is, as I said, with the whole Zoom thing, is actually you can actually talk to anyone.
Subtitles coming in. Hollingbury, he's added a comment on YouTube saying he would make a great news presenter. I feel bad. I think Pete's struggling with a bit of lag with. Go on, Pete.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say. I was exactly just going to say that. I feel like I'm about 3 seconds behind here. I'm calling in live from New Zealand right now.
To be fair, though, anyone would struggle to get a word in edgeway if you put me and Spencer in the same room. So anyone would struggle with me and you in the same room. So
yeah.
So can I ask you guys a few questions? In terms of the things that you've been doing, have you just been planning on a daily or weekly basis in terms of what you've been putting out to your community? How's that developed over the last few weeks?
Pete, do you want to answer?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I mean, it was obviously there's been a very pronounced shift in the way that brands communicate over the last few weeks. And for me, the approach I've taken is, I'm a kind of helpful and supportive person anyway, and I see people struggling, and I just thought, well, I want to try and help them in some way. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Things have come out from the government. They need interpreting. People are looking for experts to help them. So I've just tried to become an expert on those things that have come out. For example, the furlough scheme, reading up on that, trying to, absorb every piece of information I can about that and then get some content out there about it. And the same with the government loan stuff. I mean, that's the approach I've taken. I think, I've spoken to a few clients about this, and I think that a lot of people have kind of put those plans into action. I think there's going to be a conscious kind of shift in the next week or so to, well, look, we've done what we've done in our businesses. We've done all the planning we can. We've put the loans in place. We've dealt with the furloughing. We've dealt with all the clients that are trying to screw us over. What next? And that's, for me, it's my probably next post is going to be, so what now? Is what I'm thinking of calling it and saying, what do we do? And it's going to be very much focused on the things that you guys have been talking about, which is, it's about we need to come out of this in a stronger place as possible. It's about shaking the tree short. So that's probably so what now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, I think the thing is,
So with the content side of things, I think I would say that Pete and I, because we've been doing this for 20 years now, we're very intuitive generally about the speed of change that happens in our industry. And because we're talking to agency owners every day, we can quickly spot the trends and where the pain points are. So I don't know if you saw, but I wrote 2 posts before, pretty much as the stock market was coming down, saying, here's how you adapt in a recession. And a second one basically saying, have you prepared your team to work remotely yet? But where most people just said that COVID was flu, I'm saying you might want to test this right now, because I knew, having watched China and Iran for the last couple of months, what was going to happen. And so, Pete, as well, as soon as we got told by our sources that, you know, it was an EFG repackage for the COVID, Pete then knows as an expert in you know, in loans and finance for agencies how to quickly then interpret what people will need to get that. So I would say generally our content is quite responsive and intuitive, and it's like, you know, we're thinking up today, tomorrow, like Pete's thinking up today, what's next is tomorrow's story. And I've got 2 at the moment I've written about, you know, sectors that are booming, sectors that are declining, lessons learned from the post 1920s depression, you know, and then of course alongside that you have maybe the more planned content where you have you know, we have things like the interviews with yourself and other people. But actually the key thing really for us is, I mean, we're only, you know, we are 4 full-time people. Yes, we have a load of partners who support us, a dozen or so, and that's fantastic. But I mean, I think we make more noise than, like you said, with the 2 of you, than probably most 100 people businesses, you know, and that's because we take it seriously, you know, that we don't just, you know, we prioritize content as much as we prioritize anything else in our business. So it's a good ecosystem, you're totally right, is what I would say. Ecosystem.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, and I've noticed, I think you're right, because no one knows what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. I think we have to sort of, we've had a sort of day by day or week by week plan. But I do feel that, going back to Pete's point, that, you know, first of all, was about how to deal financially with the crisis and deal with the, you know, announcements from the governments. It feels like now that the panic that everyone's been in for the last 2 weeks is now it's like there's a new normal. And I wonder whether it's there is business as usual, and therefore there will be, in the coming 2 or 3 weeks, a lot more opportunity where clients go, actually, I've got a conference call at 3:00 with one of our clients, and they said we need to keep our visibility up in the next 2 or 3 months because we are planning to go to this conference and that conference, and it's not there anymore. Can we talk to you about that? And we said, well, of course you can. So I wonder if that's starting to, you know, like you said, those trends, if other clients are starting to think, actually, first 2 weeks, just don't spend any money. Just, if we have to furlough people, furlough, and making sure they can work from home, keep the lights on, basically. And now it's more about, actually, we do need to keep our awareness with our clients, and we need to have sales in the next 2 or 3 months. So I think, you know, life will go back to normal, but it'll be a new normal in the next 3 or 4 months. So there could be a lot more opportunity, I think. So
I totally agree, Sean.
And I think
that's kind of the... So I'm trying to work out how many seconds.
I paused long, but the other thing I think is really good what you guys are doing. Yeah, because I think when you're an agency owner, it's quite lonely, isn't it? So it's good to talk to people, or a community of people. That's why Podge has been so good. But you're almost doing that on a weekly, daily basis, whereby it's tough for an agency. It must be a nightmare run an agency at this time. But if you've got other people in the same situation, then life's a bit more bearable, isn't it? So I think having that community is so important.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
So
we're all waiting for the delay.
In the background, I've been timing it. I am 4 seconds behind.
Oh,
Are you? Okay, so
there you go.
For 4 seconds.
You need to upgrade your broadband.
You want to upgrade your broadband, make it a bit quicker.
What is wrong with FreeServe?
Only Sean and I are old enough to remember who FreeServe are.
Yeah. Not one for the teenagers.
That's right. Yeah.
FreeServe.
So how did your Zoom? Sorry, I couldn't come to your Zoom drinks wind down thing last week. How did that work? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a really good topic actually, because tonight I'm hosting a Zoom poker tournament for agency owners. I have a small local networking group. I call it the Good Guys Indian, where a few male friends go out for an Indian. and we're all going to be doing that remotely on Zoom. We're going to all go out and cook our own Indian and bring our own beer and have a Zoom dinner party, which is great. I mean, a lot of people have been doing quizzes anyway, but we're going to do an agency owners quiz. We might pick out some, 80s advertising or something and some logos and brands and stuff. I thought it'd be quite good fun. And then obviously, yeah, we've changed. I helped the MAAG, the marketing agencies, which is actually Scott Knox was the MAA, and now it's called the MAAG.
Yeah.
And this is nice. You have a good community spirit. We do amongst all of our friends at agency who are connected to agency, obviously read the book, and so Clive and Graham at the MAAG asked me to go and host a drinks event last Friday. In fact, they've been let down again tonight, or tomorrow night. I said, would I do it then? I was like, I don't think I could do it 2 weeks in a row. But it was difficult because, of course, it was like the Truman Show. It was like I was almost presenting to everybody while everyone's drinking, and then I was trying to sort of unmute individuals to have conversations with everybody and bring people in.
Yeah.
And so it was tricky. But do you know what? What I love is a time to experiment, right? When new beginnings are about testing and failing, and I know people talk about that a lot, but authentically, right? I don't mind trying things, and so we did the drinks event. It was good. Learned a few lessons from it. We had a DJ there. Everyone seemed to have a really
awesome. Apparently,
Friday's drinks were awesome. So clearly, people enjoyed it, and yeah, we had some good banter, so that was good. And then actually we've taken so we have a quarterly drinks event we call Schmooze.
Yeah. And
in fact, in the recent months, we've actually stopped. We sort of decided that drinks events in the evening almost have become a bit passe. You don't get good gender balance on a drinks evening. You'll end up with sort of 2 female agency owners and 98 male agency owners. And actually, Pete and I actually swapped it to brunch recently. But we thought, okay, well, look, everyone's at home. Yeah, by the way, and the brunch was brilliant because we just had such a different dynamic, but it was really nice and a bit healthier, and a bit more of an early night. But I think so. We've changed Schmooze to be now. So we've got that coming up. So we've got a drinks event which we're going to do, and I'm doing So we were going to do a big event at the end of April, Sean. We had 180 tickets sold to in the Soho Hotel. So it was going to be called. It was basically Agency for Good because I wanted to talk about all of the good things that agencies are doing. Because anyway, so we had to cancel the event. Well, we've postponed it till later in the year. But one of the things I was going to be doing that day was a agency referral masterclass because we learned that actually around 49%, almost 50% of agency owners do get their business from leads from 10 different lead sources where they're referred.
Yeah.
It could be network referrers or clients or partners, and there's a few others. So I've written that whole masterclass now. I'm going to be doing as a webinar. And in fact, I've just had to upgrade the Zoom account to over 100 people because we've now got over 100 people coming to that webinar. So, and I guess I've been a bit lazy. We've been doing real life events, but I haven't really been delivering the virtual stuff. So it's really forced us to start, bringing that stuff up to speed. So yeah. So it's all.
Because we do a monthly.
Have you tried it? What else have you done?
Well, no, we do a monthly drink, and in fact, our last drink was due last Wednesday, so it's normally the last Wednesday of the month, and it's it's we had about 50 people coming, and it's everyone pays for their own drinks. We're probably next month we did have a sponsor lined up, and I was interested. I was busy last Friday, but I wanted to see how your thing went, but my sort of instinct is to start small and then just do Zoom drinks with 5 or 6 people. So me and Richard and 4 or 5 other people, rather than 20, because you can't replicate real life where it's multiple small conversations going on all at the same time. But it feels a missed opportunity not to do something. Oh, yeah, I heard of it. I've not used
now,
it.
you can add it on. Someone mentioned this to me in the week, and if you go into your account settings, you can actually turn it on. It's inside account settings. And then let's say, for example, there's, 4 of us on the screen now. You can break it into 2 conversations. And I really like that. And I think we're going to start experimenting with that a little bit. But I think, so if you do a drinks event, then what we might do is almost a bit like, not speed networking, but, you almost sort of break into small groups to do that. So I think you're spot on there. But again, isn't that part of the learning? You do a big group. Okay, it's a bit hard to engage everybody. Now let's make it small. Let's have a big group, but let's break it into smaller groups.
Yeah, that's right. And also we're learning socially because it's my niece's birthday today, so we've got a call with my wife's sister and family at 6:30. I've got my Friday night drinks with my mates tomorrow. Every Friday we do it at 7. Every Saturday at 6:30, my dad and my sister and me have a chat. 8:00 is so we're all doing this with ourselves. So I think I'm doing a Zoom call every day, and first of all, they're all social. Increasingly, it's becoming more work because they're easy to do. But I do think it's good that you're trying these new things because we've not had the we've not really thought about it so far until I saw your wind down drinks, which I thought was such a good idea.
Yeah, I have to credit the MAAG for that idea, but hopefully we gave it its own unique feel by bringing a DJ in who kept playing the music so loud that no one could hear me, which was probably a blessing for most people. So anyway, right. Well, listen, it's been fantastic talking to you. I think we've been talking for about an hour and a half now. But it's a good hour now. And I know you've got to do a call at 3:00, haven't you, as well? So I really appreciate you giving up some time for us today. I'm feeling a bit sorry for Pete because he's clearly stuck on this lag issue. But you know what? This is the first time we've done this, and it's good. It will only get better as we figure out. Here, look, he's on camera now.
Pete, news just in. The Titanic's gone down. Elvis is ill.
Really? I'll probably hear about that in about. God almighty, really? Wow. What's this internet thing? It's amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, can I just say, guys, keep up the good work. What you're doing is fantastic.
Oh, thank you. It means a lot. Appreciate it. We love the love. And likewise, I've been a massive fan of what you're doing. I think it's a really unique approach, and I wish you all the success with it.
And also, I just say that if anyone who works in sports out there wants any advice or help, one person's already been in touch, and I'm talking to them tomorrow. But anyone in the area of sports that wants to have a chat and a Zoom call in the next few weeks, I'm happy to help in any way I can. So let's keep the community spirit going.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Thanks, Sean.
Take care. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Simon, behind the scenes.
Yeah, Simon.
No worries.
Tech God.
There's a voice from somewhere. There he is. Love it. Okay, well, listen, thanks everyone for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I'm not too sure how the lag things worked out, but that's we'll have a little look and play back and see what lessons we can learn. But some real nuggets from there today. I think a few things around, Sean talking about, shaking the tree. I do think that having a niche and looking at the taxonomy around that niche to make it wider. If you do focus on it, just to make sure that you're more recession proof in the future, if one part of that has a decline. I like the advice around the M&A. Obviously, maybe when you do acquisitions, don't buy businesses that are too big, or be very careful if you're merging 2 large agencies, because unless there's those are the times you really have to have a strong culture fit, and you have to probably have the resource to manage the integration. When it's smaller, it's not so hard. I mean, I would say that's probably an easier thing for most people to do. And then, lastly, the thing that, is really, I think, from 18 months to today, for me, really great to see now is this kind of uplift in agency owners becoming, defining their personal brands, having a point of view, and getting out there. And I think right now most agencies and their teams are going online. It's getting very noisy out there. There's lots of people, and you've got to. The internet is a great leveler. You know, you as Sean said, you know, and it gives you a chance to be as big as anyone. And someone once said to me, you know, any agency of 9 people can beat any global agency because there's only 9 good people in that global agency. And so I think, you know, if we're a 4-man band and we can create as much content as we're making, you know, around a pretty busy schedule, don't be under any illusions. Pete and I work extremely long hours, but we still find time to prioritize getting content out. So hopefully some pearls of wisdom for those of you listening. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Thanks to everyone again for the support. And we'll see you for the next episode.